what's up guys? My name is Josh and this is the lightest Razer mouse ever made. It's $40, it's 61 grams, and they kind of cheated. So instead of poking holes in it like the rest of the industry, they just kind of made it smaller. So you get the Viper Mini. There's right now a Viper Mini, a Viper, and the Viper Ultimate, which I actually have back here and is my favorite current mouse and my daily driver. And yes, that is over the G Pro wireless that we've already talked about. But this is yet to make an appearance on this channel. I want to talk a little bit about this today. So a little bit about Razer. I think a lot of people's emotions are still really all over the place about Razer. You know, you have a lot of people who absolutely love them and a lot of people who were burned by a few mice. And I'm one of them. I switched to Logitech years ago because it was one Razer product after another that had some sort of build issue, like weird gloss in weird areas, and nobody really likes gloss. I'm not sure why any mouse is covered in gloss, or they would have reliability issues or something like that. But I feel like lately, especially in the last like 2 years, has been really consistent and really good. And every Razer product that I've gotten has seemingly lasted a long time and without too many issues. And on top of that, I want to make sure that I'm giving them full credit where I think credit is due by actually listening to their customers. The entire Basilisk line actually, and if you haven't seen their Basilisk lineup, they have a lot of Basilisk, damn, that's hard to say 5 times fast. Basilisks. But anyways, that entire line is basically just made off of customer feedback, wanting different versions and different options. And so you get the Basilisk line. And it seems like they're kind of doing something somewhat similar with the Viper lineup, where they have the standard Viper, which is $80, the Viper Ultimate, which is $150, very expensive. Sometimes it goes on sale. I've seen it on Amazon. And then this, which is $40. So very wide range there. And the short conclusion that I can jump to right now is that if you like the form factor of this, which is very small, it offers an on-par experience as the Viper and the Viper Ultimate at a fraction of the cost. But there's a couple of build departures from the Viper and the Viper Ultimate that I want to talk about real quick. So one is going to be the weight. It's significantly lighter than both. And one big thing for you left-handed users is that it is an ambidextrous shape, but it is not an ambidextrous design. It does not have the side buttons on the right side of the mouse anymore. It only has them on the left for right-handed users' thumbs, not for left-handed users, unfortunately. Now, some other small design changes on the side of the Viper Ultimate and the wired Viper, the full price version. They have rubber side pieces for a little bit more grip. This lacks that rubber side pieces. Not sure if this was for cost savings or weight savings or possibly both, but there is no longer rubber on the sides. It's just plastic. The entire body is now plastic. Some other notable design changes are the feet on here. Same material, but on the Viper, it's made up of 5 core sliders, you know, top, right, and left, and then your middle. And then on the Viper Mini, instead of being 5 sliders, it's actually just 2, but there is no sensor slider. Now, quick feel comparison between this and the Viper Ultimate. I think this actually slides better than the Viper Ultimate. It's hard to say whether or not that's the slider design or just the weight, but it does feel a little bit slipperier on this Logitech mousepad that I happen to be using. A couple quick notes on the buttons. Like the Viper, but not the Viper Ultimate, it does have a DPI button right above the mouse wheel. And speaking of that mouse wheel, compared to the Ultimate that I have here, the scrolls are a lot less distinct than the Viper Ultimate. They're still noticeable, but it feels more smooth than it does clicky, unfortunately. And then there is one weird feature that I've noticed, although I'm not sure how much practical use it has. When I squeeze the body, and I'm just gripping right under this mouse and right here, if I squeeze it hard, not that I would normally ever squeeze this, I was just doing kind of a chassis stress test, it will actually click a button. And it's one of these side buttons over here. Now, I'm squeezing harder than I would ever grip this reasonably, unless, you know, really pissed off or something. I really don't think that's going to be an issue for most people though. And one impressive part about that is that as hard as I am squeezing, there's no chassis squeak or cracking or anything like that. Like, I'm giving it a pretty good squeeze and it's definitely holding up to that scrutiny. Okay, then I'll do a quick sound demo for all the buttons here. So some quick ergonomic things. This is an MM710 from Mastercool. It's a very popular lightweight mouse, and it should be because it's really awesome too. But this is a very different ergonomic shape, but I want to draw attention to the actual cable. The cable on the Viper Mini is very good. Not as good as this though. It's not quite as plush, and I'll do kind of a visual presentation here with some B-roll. Now, one thing about the Mini is that the actual shape is not precisely the same as the Viper. So this results in the slope in the back being a little bit more aggressive than on the standard Viper, which is going to benefit the people who I think this targets, which is going to be slightly smaller hands or hands that don't have longer fingers, where you want your palm to be a little bit closer to your fingers and not have such a stretched out feel to your hand. Now, to compare the ergonomics against the 710 here, which I'm only comparing because of price point and weight, this is a much smaller feeling mouse in a couple ways. So one is going to be the slope on the back. On the 710 is significantly higher, and you definitely feel it lower in your palm, and it feels like it's kind of bringing up your hand a little bit more. Whereas, at least on my hand, can't really say from smaller hands, but from my hand, I don't really feel the palm rest at all. Like, I have to push my hand down in order to actually feel where it is. So it kind of slips out of the way for me. It's not really an issue. And I usually end up using a bit of a fingertip grip for this, whereas I definitely feel the hump on the 710. The finger grooves are awesome on the Viper series, so very comfortable there, and definitely more grooved than the sort of flatter design of the 710. And then I think this is going to be the most controversial comfort part of the build, which is going to be that grip width. So part of what makes the Viper Ultimate so good for me is the width. It's that it's a fairly wide mouse, and I actually quite like it, and it's super low profile. It's pretty skinny, and so I find my hand a little bit cramping to get a hold of it. And the bottom line for this is that the people that this is made for, people who really like small mice and just they find it more comfortable, or the people who need small mice because they have small hands, this is going to be a pretty awesome option for you guys. But for my hands, which I fit in a large glove, it's just, this mouse is not designed for me. It's undeniably a well-performing mice, but I need something a bit beefier in terms of the scale of it. Maybe not necessarily the weight, but the scale of it to be a little bit bigger than what this offers. Although technically very impressive, not designed for me, but maybe designed for you. And I'm happy Razer designed it as at least an alternative to people with smaller hands or just want a super, super lightweight Razer mouse, which is exactly what this is. So does it get my recommendation? Well, I think 40 bucks is like a steal for this thing. Like, it's great. It's got a slightly different sensor than the Viper, but the performance is pretty much on par with it. All the main usability features are perfect and have been flawless in all of my testing. Now, comfort, which is going to be the biggest part of kind of my mouse recommendation, while my hand is not good, it may be good for some others. And I would see people like Rocket Jump Ninja, for example, on some hand size recommendations, because he's very good at offering different recommendations for different size hands. So yeah, I think that I'm gonna wrap it up. The Razer Viper Mini, very cool. Not for me, but maybe for you. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. My name's Josh, signing off.